gives examples of phone hacking involving the schoolgirl Millie Dowler, the mistress of former Home Secretary David Plunkett, and the James Bond star Daniel Craig. A further preliminary hearing is expected in the case in October, with a trial not likely to take place before January.
The journalist and author Chapman Pincher, who had a series of sensational exclusives when he was the defense correspondent of the Daily Express in the 1950s and 60s, has died. He was 100. Chapman Pincher's scoops about traitors, spies and the intelligence services made him essential newspaper reading. In his most controversial book, Their Trade is Treachery, he claimed that a former head of MI5, Sir Roger Hollis, had been investigated as a possible Soviet agent. He later concluded that Hollis had, indeed, been a traitor.
Paul, thank you. His blonde hair sticking up in sweaty tufts, Boris Johnson cut a characteristically rumpled figure as he made one of the most important announcements of his life, really, that he'd like to stand for Parliament in 2015. The move had been expected before the party conference, but not today, when he was making a major speech on Europe, arguing that Britain could prosper outside the EU. The news has rather electrified Westminster, with the prospect of a man widely thought to want the Prime Minister's job joining him in the House of Commons.
You ask about it.
During a question and answer session after the speech, Boris Johnson was pressed on whether he was trying to find a seat in the House of Commons.
You ask about it because I haven't got any particular seat lined up, but I do think that in all probability, since you can't do these things perfectly, I might as well be absolutely clear with you. In all probability, I will try to find somewhere to stand in 2015.
Question further, he was asked whether he planned to return to Parliament in order to stand as the Conservative Party leader.
What I said was, you can't go. We've got party conference. Everybody knows we've got party conference coming up in 2 months' time, almost exactly. I don't think we can have this thing going on endlessly. Let's talk about Europe. I've said what I have said. It may all go wrong, but I think the likelihood is I'm going to have to give it a crack.
On the question of Europe, speech, Boris Johnson set out why leaving the EU could be in Britain's interest, despite some uncertainties in the short term.
I don't deny that there would be a scratchy period while all that was done. But they said that before, folks, don't you remember? They said that, if we didn't join the euro, the whole place would collapse and giant mutant rats would crawl out of Walking Street and devour the emaciated faces of the last bankers in this city. And that turned out not to be true, to put it mildly. People would realise that London and the UK still offered superb advantages of time zone, language, skills, a massive concentration of talent here in financial services and indeed many other crucial 21st century industries. For all those who may find this sort of talk alarming, I really believe that the whole EU question is no longer as pivotal for our future and for Britain as it was.
So what's the view of the city and business more generally to Boris Johnson's speech? So Andrew Kahn is the chairman of the International Trade and Investment Group of City UK, and was previously in charge of UK Trade and Investment. That's the government body which promotes British exports. So Boris Johnson said he was an optimist. He said this is a win-win argument whether Britain stays or leaves the EU.
Well, I half agree with Boris that Europe needs reform. That's quite clear, and it's good that he set out his stall for that. Where I get worried is when Boris says that if we were to have left, everything would be rosy, that we could have